Hey, what's going on, guys? Lemonade back with another Clash video. Today I'm going to cover off some attacks I've been doing recently in Legends League. Went 294, which sucks in this meta because it's super hard to defend. So you can see the day before I went 293 and my defenses went minus 301. So basically my base can't defend, but I'm praying for some more defenses in these last three here. And you can see I failed twice, one pretty badly at 74% and the other one 92%. But the rest of the day, pretty decent. I think right now the meta is shifting slightly where you can defend a little bit more just because the supercharging is definitely helping with the damage, especially if you use an air army. Right now I'm using the dragons, which I think have been failing me sometimes. They're kind of stupid. They just obviously they just hit any building. So sometimes they're just hitting like a storage or something like that and getting killed by an air defense. Whereas if you use like a ground army, like the Root Riders right now, or even the Dragon Riders, they're less likely to get hung up on those type of buildings. So I'm considering switching. I mean, 6 out of 8 is not so bad. And the reason this one failed so badly, which I'll show later, is I just wasn't focused and I thought like my RC was in an invis spell, but wasn't. Anyway, let's show this attack. Let's look at this first one on Happy. He's probably not so happy that I've tripled him, but let's go into that one first. And I'll talk you through sort of the plan. We'll talk about the army as well. So here we're running 14 dragons, 2 baby dragons. So this was shown by Apotheosis when he was getting coached by a ranked player. The only difference is I run a blimp with Yetis inside instead of the siege barracks with the super minions inside. The main reason I do that is one, just so I have sort of this oh crap, backup in case nothing is going for the town hall. And two, it's just, peace of mind that you're not going to 1-star. Because right now 1-starring in Legends League is super detrimental. Like you're not going to be able to recover from a day like that really if you're trying to push. Honestly, I'm at a point where pushing is getting a little bit annoying because I can't defend. And obviously that's my own fault. To defend in Legends League right now, you need to effectively know how to build bases or be really good at like copying bases and then tweaking or adjusting them. So I think I'm going to have to get into that a little bit more and start watching some guides and videos on how to build bases. But yeah, right now it's just like when you're hitting in Legends League, like you're going to see the same bases over and over again. And it's super sad to fail on them, especially if you've seen them or hit them already a few times. And that's probably the case with my base, why I'm getting cooked every day. But, the only way to get better right now in Legends League is to keep practicing and then understanding how to hit those bases, because you're going to keep seeing them every day. Basically, out of the 8 hits, you're probably going to see the same base once or twice, maybe 3 times. And if you've hit it before and you've analyzed it, and it'll just save you a bunch of time. Obviously, people can move traps around, but the structure of the base is mostly going to be the same. So on this style of base, because I'm running the dragon attack, you always want to look for the same things. Okay, if you're running an air attack versus when you're running a ground attack. So when you're running an air attack, the first thing I always look for are the sweepers, right? Because I basically don't want to fly like in from this wizard tower towards the sweeper, and I don't want to fly in this side towards the sweeper either. And then the other thing you want to look at is you want to check the fire spitters, because if you don't come into the backside of one of them, then you're going to be eating a crap ton of damage. And on this particular base, they're running 2 rage towers. So you definitely don't want to be flying into one of them. So generally speaking, if, for example, like I'm going to do an RC walk. So if I walk and I take out this fire spitter, then because you don't want to come into on the front side of this, if that makes sense. And this army is flexible enough where I think you can adjust it depending on how things go with your RC walk. Obviously, if you don't pick up like your RC, so you don't recall her, then you're kind of cooked. But because I have the blimp, I mean, at least I'll get 2 stars. But you want to make sure you don't get too greedy. You don't want to overcook with your RC. You kind of want to just, all the pros will say like, oh, create pathing. Man, I have no idea what kind of path I'm trying to create here, especially with dragons, right? Because again, dragons are stupid. They just kind of hit any building. So for me, what the pros are going to tell you, like, oh yeah, you're just trying to get value. You're just trying to take out stuff that's going to hurt your army, right? So this is a good option here. But what I was looking at for this attack is I saw like all these multi-archer towers, which I hate. Like they just, over time, they do so much damage, especially if your dragons are just flying around them. And the 2 air defenses, right? So I thought like, hey, I could walk down along this side and take out the new merge cannon here that does a crap ton of damage as well. I know we're not necessarily targeting the rage which you should be when you're walking with your RC. But I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to take care of these, and maybe my attack will go fine. So let's get into the replay, and then I'll talk through sort of what's happening. Speed it up a little bit until it starts. Okay, guess we're not started for a while. Jeez. All right, so I enter in from the bottom side right into the multi-archer, and then I'm going to invis. I'm not using the shocks like perma-invis timing. I'm using just the regular timing for now, which is every 56 and basically just every 56. And what happens here is my RC actually walks into the rage tower compartment. So I take that fire spitter down, and then I'm thinking, okay, typically I would have already recalled, but I said, okay, because she's in such a good spot where she can take out like some pretty good defenses, I said, you know what, I'm going to invest more invis this time around. But you make that decision. If she's in a spot where she's not really doing too much, then you can recall her out and use the invis later. But there I thought, oh, you know what, she's taking out a rage tower. I'm going to go ahead and take that out. Then the next thing is you want to shoot. So I shot an arrow. I took out both of the air defenses here and here, which was amazing for my queen. That's another thing you want to get good at practicing. You want to practice being able to shoot the arrow decently. I'm not a pro at shooting it. Sometimes I'll miss, but I want to basically at least get one air defense. Otherwise, it'll make it a lot harder. And then I enter from the top side here with the blimp, and then I warden ability my blimp. The warden has both healing, like the healing and the invincibility book. So that will guarantee your blimp makes it to the town hall. And what I don't do here is I don't invest the rage on the Yetis in the core. And the reasoning for that is because there's just nothing else in the core other than the town hall. And there's that one multi. So I figure I can use my rage later to help my army. Okay, there is my main prince ability. It was slightly off. I wish I kind of got that fire spitter. And you can see I start to get cooked by that fire spitter. So not where I kind of wanted to end up with my army. The main prince dies and goes to ability here. And what I did while I was kind of rambling on there is I actually dropped my RC, the recalled RC at the bottom. And she was able to use the spear and take out a bunch of defenses. This one gets a little bit close, but the queen is full HP. So, you know, like I said, the trend in this meta is you can definitely fail with this air army attack. You're not sort of left over with 20 dragons anymore, especially with all the new supercharges doing too much damage to your dragons. So I think, you know, the shift to attacking with the ground armies is probably going to be more viable, especially if you're super competitive. I would highly recommend using that Root Rider army right now, because for that type of army, you can fail pretty badly and still triple. Whereas with this dragon army, if you mess up like a few things, it gets pretty close. And when I say pretty close, you know, it's the difference between like a 99 time fail or the 3-star. All right, let's jump into the next attack here. All right. So this base here, I'm going to pause it again and analyze this base. This one is less common to see, but it has a double invis, okay? So a double invis just invites you to enter into one of the invis towers, okay? And that's why we bring a skeleton spell. The skeleton spell is to trigger one of the invises. So we're going to drop a skeleton spell somewhere on one of these invis towers. And then we're going to invis that skeleton spell so that the skeletons, you know, start banging on the walls or start banging on defense, which will then in turn trigger the invis, right? And then once the invis is done triggering, it goes on cooldown. That's when you drop your RC in to start taking out the base. So the plan on this base is to, again, the sweepers are kind of can't avoid them, you know, unless you kind of come straight onto the monolith side or the town hall side. But the plan is to take out this invis compartment first, recall out of there, and then for the arrow, I'm not even sure where we'd shoot the arrow. I'll just go into the attack and see what happens. Okay, and the base is 741k in loot, and 750 is around max right now, I think. So these are thick bases, whether they are good or not. Let's see our entry here. Usually the 3-2-1. See the 3-2-1? That always gets me nervous because you only have 30 seconds to plan your attack. You know, as soon as it starts counting down, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna wing the rest of it by the time I'm done analyzing the base and sort of go from there. I think, again, once you start seeing more and more of the same bases, you're just naturally going to get better at the game. You're not going to be able to replicate the exact same attack every single time because the CC might be different. The troops, the defending heroes might be in different positions by the time you encounter them or run into them. All sorts of RNG stuff can definitely happen. But for the most part, as long as you have a decent approach to attacking, then you will succeed more often, okay? So I'm going to go to 1x here. So what I've done so far is I've dropped the skelly and the invis, and you can see the invis tower just goes off. And then now I'm waiting, and there goes my RC. There's a troll Tesla in the corner, so I kind of got lucky that I I opened that up and took that out. And then here I cover off the spell tower just because the aura should be enough to almost take it down while my RC is just kind of standing in there. And then we pop a Skelly Trap, which is good. For your RC, you want to pop as many Skelly Traps as you can. Not that you can like aim for it, but that's because the aura is just going to take care of the skeletons right away. And then a Super Dragon and an Ice Golem come out of there. And then once I take this building down, I recall out of there. Okay, I didn't think it was worth investing one more Invis spell. Maybe it would have been worth it, but I approach on the right-hand side here just because I don't want to approach on the bottom side and walk all the way around to that. And then I just arrow straight through. I think my thought around that was I didn't have a clean arrow to like trigger this Invis on the left-hand side, so I figured I would just do some damage to sort of a bunch of key buildings, so the Town Hall, the Monolith. And this approach was not the greatest because I'm flying right into this sweeper here, so I should freeze that. But I'm not pro and I don't notice that, so I just kind of let that sweeper cook my army by pushing it away. And then instead I freezed the invisibility just because I wanted my troops to take out some of the defenses, because I knew the invis wasn't triggered yet. But if I can take down like one or two defenses so that they're not cooking my army while it all goes invisible, then I think it'll help my chances on the raid. So here my minion prince goes to ability. So things are starting to fizzle out a little bit, but I still have my RC. I choose to support my army from the backside instead of like approaching from the right hand side here, just because I didn't want like to be shooting at wizard towers with my spear. I kind of wanted to help push my dragons along and then push them along the top side. And my RC eats that Giga Bomb and then gets a shot off onto that. So this will give us enough to get the 3-star. Again, my queen is healthy. Okay, the queen is important in this attack. Sometimes I'll invest one of my invises for her, but I find in the raids that you fail with this army, if your queen dies, you're much more likely to fail. So do keep that in mind. Like the 7 invises or 8 invises that's part of this army are not only for your RC. Sometimes you have to invest the invis to protect your queen, because your queen is just going to take out so many buildings along the edge of the base, right? Because that's what the queens are good for. Just walking along the outside of the base. You kind of don't want your queen to be walking in the center towards the core of the base, because the queen has like the worst AI. It's just going to keep beating on walls. So you kind of want to drop your queen so that it's walking along the outside of the base. All right, guys, let's get into the next attack here. All right. This base, super common base, super sad that I messed up on this base, but extremely common base, double poison. I think I literally have this base, which I should probably run it, and the fire spitters point inside. Where's the other ones over here? And so for this kind of base, it says a lot, but a lot of streamers, you got to cut the ring because there's a nice little ring around this town hall. And then the last thing you want is like the town hall just shooting at your troops as it's like walking around the ring, because that will lead you to a 1-star. So my thought on this base was, okay, I'm going to enter my RC on this side. You want to put your RC in where the defenses are clumped up, just because the aura around the RC with the electro boots is just going to start damaging stuff around. And so you're gaining value by putting your RC into a good spot. We'll get into the attack here and you'll see where I messed up. There's a point where I think my RC is protected. I should have been faster to react, but we'll see here. So I entered down here. Everything's going good. I'm semi-focused on my attack right now. Okay, we're going to take out that multi. We're invising. Okay, nice. And I think somewhere around here I mess up. Okay, I eat a town hall shot here. All good. And then right here, that invis, I missed so hard. And then what I should have done right in this instance is I should have switched to my recalled her right away, or dropped another invis right away, because I still have 4 invises, right? And instead, I thought, oh god, I think she's dead. And she goes poof, 0 value from her spear ability. And then I thought, okay, maybe I can recover this. Where do I shoot the arrow? And where do I drop the dragon? So I shoot an arrow, I get the air defenses there on the left-hand side, and I drop my dragons over here, start eating some mines. And then I'm thinking in my head, okay, you know what? I need to get crazy value with my warden ability, which I'm not going to get because I have to protect this blimp. So I probably should have let my dragons go a little bit longer and then blimped a little bit later. But I was already so panicked. I'm going to rage here in the town hall. I don't really know why I freeze the dragon there. That really didn't do anything. I could have saved that freeze for later. But it's not really going to change the outcome of this attack anyway. The warden ability way too early, so it didn't get enough value for my dragons. And the back end is going to be way too killer. I'm literally flying right into the fire spitter here, into the monolith, into the multi, into the scatter. Yeah, it just wasn't enough here. I was using the invis to like protect my warden at this point, but yeah, big fail. I mean, lessons to learn from this one. Again, don't overcook with your RC. If you think she's at risk, it's 10 out of 10 way better just recall her out and then proceed with the attack than to risk not getting any value with the spear, because you really need the spear, right? The spear is going to take out, it throws like 10 hits. So as long as you're not hitting like a ricochet cannon, or I think it takes like 3 or 4 hits for those, roughly you're going to get like 4 to 5. Wait, that's too many. Maybe 3 to 4 defenses with just the spear. The monolith takes 3 hits from the rocket spear, so that's important to know, especially if you want to like, if they have an exposed monolith and you want to drop your RC to take that out, you're gonna want to invest an invis with your RC to take out the monolith. So just keep that in mind. That's one of the flexibilities you can use with the strategy. And I'm gonna cover one more attack. That's my defense log. Let's go into this one, 745. Okay. So I'm just looking at, again, that's just gonna show you how thick the defenses are gonna be. And what do we have here? Double invis base. Okay. So on this base, I don't think so, at least. I don't think I used the skeleton trick to trigger one of these invises. My thought is, okay, I'm going to use the skeleton to distract this monolith instead. And the reasoning for that is both of these invises are going to be super easy to trigger with a giant arrow from the queen. So that's why I don't want to use the trick to enter on one of those with my RC with the skeleton trick. Okay, so that's the thought behind that. And let's go see, what am I doing? I'm analyzing the base. I should speed this part up. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Almost like clockwork. As soon as that timer comes up, I'm doing something. I'm starting my attack just because I'm worried to spend any more time. I want to avoid the time fail. So I'm entering on this top side. I was trying to walk into that monolith, but this base design doesn't really let you do that. If I invested an extra invis right here, right now, I would have walked to, back to the core or back to the left, but I don't, so it's fine. Let's continue. We're continuing to walk here. Okay. Key things here. You don't want to let your RC die like I did in that other replay. And if you can, you don't want to let your Spirit Fox die either, but because I'm not using Shock's timing, my Spirit Fox is going to die more often than not, which is okay. I invest my last invis here. I don't. Okay, so I recall out to dodge that Town Hall shot, and I get a pretty good chunk of the defenses down at the top. And then down here, shoot. Aiming for just the one air defense and to trigger the invis in the core. I didn't even trigger both invises, which is a little bit dangerous, but we'll see. I should drop a skeleton spell onto this monolith shortly, please. My dragons all get cooked. Okay, there's the skeleton spell. A little bit late, so I should have dropped that a little bit earlier, and I probably should have dropped it in between that and the scatter shot. Then I can distract both defenses. So little things I can improve on now that I'm watching it back. And then of course, ability for your blimp through all of that. He doesn't really pick up that many traps or anything, and then a rage. Yeah, I mean, the Yetis actually don't get the Town Hall, so that's why it's important to actually trigger the invis before you send your blimp there. But I'm still going to overpower this base. I put my RC on the right hand side. You can see she's just shooting the rockets here, and I have an extra invis for her if I need it, but nothing's actually attacking her right now, so I'm just holding on to this invis. The dragons come through and take down the Town Hall, and look at that. Minion Prince is still up with the Phoenix. RC's up full HP almost. Or yeah, full HP. Queen died, but that's completely fine. I still have an invis spell as well. And yeah, look at that. Near max base getting crushed by this army. So yeah, I mean, if things go relatively right, you can definitely crush bases. Like I said, I'm probably going to make that shift towards the ground armies. I think the black mines, the seeking mines, are just too crazy right now. Especially for your Minion Prince. If your Minion Prince eats, I think, one of them and a bit, it'll go down. So, if you're running the Phoenix, it'll go to Phoenix. So that's one thing that's pretty detrimental to them. I'm also running an underleveled Minion Prince. I do have my King Max, but I mean, these equipment from the Minion Prince, if you get a really good shot off for that, it's going to make the raid so much easier. Whereas the King, I've tried it a few times in the Mass Drag type of army. I find the King just loves hitting walls and gets stuck behind walls too much of the time. A lot of the time in the raid, like literally my King is just there like hitting a wall, and then towards the end of the raid, there might be something like hidden or a defense left in the compartment, and your King is obviously going to roll up and just start beating on the wall, and then you're going to time fail. So that's what I've been finding with the King. If I do decide to use it more, especially when I start upgrading my Minion Prince, I'm probably going to use it to tank for my Queen, which makes the most sense, right? Because your Queen is going to get so much more value, and that'll just make your funnel a little bit stronger around the outside. but it's going to make your dragon army weaker. Does that make sense? So if I were to run a king, I might swap some spells around to help support the dragons. Maybe like bring more freezes or bring more No, maybe it's not skeleton spells. Maybe skeleton spells. I don't know. Skeleton spells are good for tanking scattershot hits and monolith hits. Ricochet cannons, but that's more for ground armies, I would say, and to tank for your queen. Anyway, that's just my thought. Hopefully this walkthrough was helpful for you guys. Sorry for the delay in making videos. I've just been, busy with real life, obviously. Hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate that. And for my next video, I think I'm going to try and cover off the ground army and my transition to that, and then obviously trying to explain the thought process behind it and help teach you guys how to get some 3 stars. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.